Hey everyone, and welcome back to Bus Vintage Bikes. So this is a two-part video, and this is part 2 of the Sunbeam Raleigh Dido build. It's a little bike that was probably built in the 70s from the Raleigh factory in South Africa. Back in the day, that Raleigh factory really churned out bikes for the South African market. A lot of Raleigh choppers were produced there as well in a little town called Springs. And this bike is officially the first bike that I've spray painted with a spray gun rather than rattle cans. I bought myself a compressor and a spray gun, and I've learned some hard lessons along the way. Some of them I'll share with you in this video. It's definitely not as easy as what ETO on YouTube makes it look. The little bit of hair that I have, I nearly lost it all, but I enjoyed it. It's a learning curve, and it's a learning curve I'm enjoying, and it's one of those jobs. Spray painting is one of those jobs that you can be a bit of a perfectionist with it. The more preparation you take, the better results you get on it, and that part I really am enjoying. So enjoy the build. Stick around towards the end. There's one or two little touches on this build that I think you will enjoy. Things that I took my time with just to finish it off nicely. And to my new subscribers, thank you for joining the channel. We're heading towards 2,000, and you guys are most appreciated. Enjoy the vid. Cheers. Just to show you what not to do when shooting clear coat, and one of the lessons that I've learned the hard way. So when I sprayed these two bumpers, I actually made a mistake on the compressor where, rather embarrassingly, I never switched it on at the compressor, only at the plug, so it ran out of air halfway through. So both these mudguards turned out bad. The front mudguard, the small one, instead of trying to save the clear coat on it, I stripped it right down to basic, and I resprayed the entire thing actually, metallic and clear coat. And that's the result I got, which I'm very happy with. The rear mudguard, however, I decided to try and save it and then just shoot clear coat over it again. By saving it, I had scraped down and sanded the clear coat down to what I thought was base. But as you can see, while sanding, without realizing it, I did actually touch the metallic, and you get this mottled effect underneath it. So if you make a mistake in your spray painting and it's beyond the primer stage, go back to primer or go all the way back to base and start over again. Trying to save something is often not worth the time and effort. So that rear mudguard, I'll be stripping it off and redoing it. So while putting the back wheel together, I ran into a slight problem where I noticed the thread on the axle is stripped. So I went searching for a new one, and I could find one, but it is slightly shorter. The advantage is that the new one has got these lock nuts on it, which the old one never had on it. The problem comes in is now that I've assembled it, this axle is slightly broader than the old one was. So the spacing on the frame isn't quite the same. So now when I try and put the rear wheel back in the frame, you can see that's the amount that I'm short. So what that means is that I actually need to widen the frame ever so slightly. So to widen the frame slightly, all I did was I took a piece of threaded bar and I put a nut and a washer on the middle, on the inside of the frame, on the threaded bar, and I'm going to tighten these against each other, forcing the frame outwards. And that is going to bend the frame ever so slightly at these 2 points. It'll push it out so that the rear wheel can fit in. And that's the advantage of steel over other materials, is that you can cold set steel without the risk of actually breaking the frame. So this inside measurement on the frame currently is 106 mils, and I'm going to push it out to about 130 mils by tightening these screws outwards. And at 130, I'll then release it, and then we'll measure it again and make sure it's stretched out slightly. And you can just do that in increments, small increments, till you get it stretched out to the desired result. Okay, so now I've got it stretched out at 117 mils. And I'm going to release it now, and I'm just going to test it and see what result we get. Right, so that was released at 117 mils. You can see it's bent open a bit, but I'm still got a little way to go. So I'm going to go through the same process and stretch it open again. It's important when doing this that you stretch it equally either side. So 3 turns on the left, 3 turns on the right as you're stretching it. Don't just do it all in one direction. Otherwise your one stay will be bent out and the other stay won't. Okay, this is the third attempt and we are at 126 mils stretched out. I'm going to release it now and see if it's any better. So that was 126 mils stretched out. I released it. And now the rear wheel and the axle fits in perfectly. So this is the honesty part of the video where I have to admit that I made a mistake. So remember I spoke to you about this axle and I couldn't find a long enough axle and hoped this one would work. So I stretched these stays out to fit this axle. Was very pleased that I still had enough thread on here to be able to put this nut on. But I had forgot that this bike stays aren't integrated, but they actually come loose. So this seat stay still has to come on here, which is fine because I've still got enough thread there to at least be able to put the nut on. The problem is that the carrier needs to come on here as well. Obviously it'll go on over the top, I won't fit it now. And that carrier on there, if I just put that on there, leaves me with very little thread. So it looks like I'm going to have to clean up the thread on the old axle and put that axle back in here and hope I've got enough bite on that thread to hold the nut. The joys of vintage bike restoration, never a dull moment. Right, so the new axle is out and the old axle's back. Gives us a little bit more clearance on thread, and the strip part is there where the actual seat stay goes. So I think I'm going to have enough thread to bite onto, hopefully. And a bonus, in my part box I found some lovely new old stock nuts to go on there as well, so that'll work nicely. So now to get those seat stays on and the carrier on. Okay, sadly I couldn't film this because I needed all hands on deck. It was a little bit complicated and I can't hold this bike in a bike stand like I normally can with a normal bike. So that's how it comes together at the seat post, pinch bolt. So I'm just going to do that nut up now.